A very good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the 15th session of Abhigya monthly book review series. Before we start our session, I would like to request you all to mute your microphones and not to share your screen for the smooth conduct of this session. As rightly said by British writer Janet Winterson, book and doors are the same thing. You open them and you go through into another world. What is better way to end unprecedented year of 2020 than hearing from a voracious reader and a lady who is contributing to make this world a better place to live in. Friends, today we have with us Dr. Nidhi Sendurnikar. She is working as an assistant professor with the Faculty of Journalism and Communication, the MS University of Baroda. Dr. Nidhi holds PhD degree in political science from the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, Gujarat. She was a senior research fellow of the University Grant Commission, studying for a PhD in conflict mediation between India and Pakistan and media's role from 2011 to 2015. She has worked as a program coordinator for Initiative of Change, a research officer for the Tata Institute of Social Science Mumbai, and an academic associate for IIM Ahmedabad. She has been a fellow of the Building Peace Project 2014-15, Global Conversation Project 2015, a Contact South Asia Peacebuilding Program 2014, the Cox Scholar Program 2016, and a Peace Educator with Cox Police online program teaching English to the students in Afghanistan. She has been a freelance contributor to several forums like Open Democracy, South Asia Monitor, Women's Web, Beside Journal, Aman Ki Asha, The Alternative, Safe Fit. She loves interacting with people from different cultures, traveling, blogging, reading nonfiction, and watching Bollywood movies. Friends, join me to welcome Dr. Nidhi to the 15th session of Abhigya Book Review Series. Over to you, Nidhi.
Thank you so much. Good morning to all participants of the 15th Abhigya Book Review Series. It's a windy and a breezy morning here in Baroda, and I'm sure it's the same in Surat, which is where most of you are. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Abhilasha Agarwal, who's the principal of Vanita Vishram Women's College of Commerce in Surat. I applaud and acknowledge the initiative of the book review series that is being undertaken under ma'am's mentorship and leadership. I am also grateful to my dear friend, Dr. Neha Raval, with whom I have had many meaningful academic exchanges while she was here in Baroda. And I was also very fortunate to visit Surat and be with her for some time in 2016. So I'm deeply grateful to her for this invite. And before I begin reviewing the book, which I have to do in front of all of you, I'd like to talk briefly about the importance of reading books in a person's life. I think Neha very brilliantly started this session by saying that books and doors open windows of opportunities, windows of novel and innovative thinking in our lives. And I was blessed with a very rich and vibrant reading culture in my house because both my parents are voracious readers, and when I was in school and subsequently in the university, I had teachers and mentors who encouraged me to read. And the title of this book review series, Abhigya, I asked one of my family friends, Miss Kathy Karod, about what Abhigya means. And she told me that Abhigya means to be aware, to know something. And I think reading books and immersing oneself in the world of books makes you aware, makes you uh, helps you know so many things in life. It gives you a unique perspective to life. So I congratulate the college on initiating this reading culture through this book review series. So I will now present my screen to all of you because I'd like to use a PowerPoint presentation to talk about the book that is going to be reviewed today. So, as all of you know, the book that I'm going to review today is Anuj book, Your Prime Minister is Dead. This is the book. I have the copy with me. I would just like to confirm if everybody can see the presentation on my screen. Is my screen visible to all of you? Neha, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it is
Yes,
visible.
yes, Nidhi. It's visible.
Great. Okay. So the book that I'm going to review is a 2019 publication by Anuj Dhar, and the title is very emphatic: Your Prime Minister is Dead. In fact, when you read the title, Your Prime Minister is Dead, you are taken aback, you are stunned, and you are shocked. And the author Anuj Dhar has invested 10 to 15 years of research work behind this book. So I don't know how fair and how just it is to present a review of this book in a matter of 40 to 45 minutes, but I will try my best to do it. And I will try and speak majorly in English because the book is in English. And बीच बीच में मैं हिंदी का भी प्रयोग करूंगी जैसा मुझे उपयुक्त लगेगा. मैं आप लोगों को एक वीडियो दिखाना चाहती हूँ जो आपके लिए इस बुक की जो पूर्व भूमिका है, जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, जो बैकग्राउंड है, वो लेआउट. और अगर आप ये वीडियो देखेंगे तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि ये बुक किस हेतु से, किस उद्देश्य से लिखी गई है. So while the video is loading, I'll just try and share. So yeah, the video is there. Okay. So as you all saw in this video, the center of this book, the focus of this book is the second Prime Minister of independent India, Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri, and the mysterious circumstances under which he died in the year.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Nidhi, sorry to interrupt you in between.
No problem.
Can you run your PPT in slideshow mode?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So extremely sorry for the interruption. So the center and the focus of this book by Anuj Dhar is the second Prime Minister of independent India, Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri, who died under extremely mysterious circumstances in 1966 in the Russian city of Tashkent, while the Indo-Pak Peace Summit was taking place after the 1965 India-Pakistan War. Lal Bahadur Shastri was the Prime Minister of India after the death of Jawaharlal Nehru, and it was his tenure was from June 1964 to January 1966. Now, why have I chosen this book for my review? So, ऐसा होता है कि कई कई बार कुछ बुक्स के साथ आपका पर्सनल एनकाउंटर होता है। वैसे ही 2017-18 तक मुझे कुछ नहीं पता था लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी की डेथ के बारे में, उसके इर्द गिर्द जो कंट्रोवर्सीज हैं उसके बारे में। So, Mr. Anuj Dhar visited our university, MS University. I don't recall the year. And he gave an extended talk about the work that he has carried on in relation to Shastri ji's death mystery and also in relation to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's death mystery. So I happened to attend this session by Mr. Anuj Dhar, and I got really intrigued and fascinated about the subject of this death mystery. So that was why I decided to pick up this book and read it. This is a 2019 edition. Through this book, I also got my first ever exposure to who Lal Bahadur Shastri was and under what circumstances did he died. And in connection, I also started exploring Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and his mysterious death. That is a topic on which Sri Anuj Dhar has also worked. I have chosen this book because I personally feel that Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri was one of the best prime ministers that India ever had. He was a people's prime minister. He was very humble, very popular, had a lot of integrity in the way he carried out politics. He was a great visionary. He was someone who is cherished by people and public imagination in India. All of you know that he gave this very famous slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. He had a very different approach to the conduct of foreign policy and international affairs. He was a true visionary of independent India. His vision for India was very indigenous and it was deeply rooted in our culture and our ethos. He was greatly focused on agriculture and the development of the agriculture sector. He called for self-sustenance, green revolution. In fact, the green revolution, the white revolution that we so proudly talk about today is to Shastri ji's credit. And yet, I feel that Shastri ji was never given his due credit in India's political discourse and India's political history. So, by introducing you to this book, I want you to be introduced to Shastri ji. Secondly, I think that this book is an excellent display of journalistic investigation and journalistic use of the Right to Information Act. अब आप सोचेंगे कि शास्त्री जी की डेथ है वो 1966 में होती है और 2019 में ये बुक लिखी जाती है, जिसके लिए ऑथर अनुज धार ने 2009 से काम शुरू किया। और शास्त्री जी की डेथ के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन निकालने के लिए उन्होंने राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन एक्ट का बहुत ही अच्छा इस्तेमाल किया। तो ये बुक मैं इसीलिए भी रेकमेंड करती हूँ कि अगर किसी को राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन एक्ट के बारे में जानना है, किसी को जानना है कि राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन एक्ट को किस तरह इंटेलिजेंटली पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन को बाहर निकालने के लिए इस्तेमाल किया जा सकता है, सो आई थिंक दिस इज एन एक्सीलेंट एग्जांपल ऑफ जर्नलिस्टिक इन्वेस्टिगेशन. And finally, why I also chose this book is because a lot of us, even though we may not be interested in politics, we are always intrigued by conspiracy theories. A lot of our leaders like Sanjay Gandhi, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Subhash Chandra Bose, they died in mysterious circumstances और इनकी मृत्यु को लेकर आज भी अटकलें लगी हैं। आज भी हम सोचते रहते हैं कि सुभाष चंद्र बोस जी की डेथ कैसे हुई, माधवराव सिंधिया की डेथ कैसे हुई, दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी की डेथ कैसे हुई. सो because the Indian public imagination is always fascinated by conspiracy theories, by mysteries, that is also one reason why I have chosen to review this book today. So you can see on my screen author Anuj Dhar. He has written quite a few books, but he is most well known and widely known for two things. Number one, he is an author. He is a former journalist, so he is trained as a journalist. He is also a very good researcher, and very interestingly, he started his work in 2009 by filing the first RTI application with the Prime Minister's office about the Shastri death case. The first RTI ever to be filed with regard to the Shastri death case was filed by Shri Anuj Dhar. He has written this book called Conundrum with Chandrachur Ghosh. So both of them are Bengalis. And he has written extensively also about the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose death mystery. The book is titled India's Biggest Cover Up 2012. हिंदी में इस किताब का नाम है नेताजी रहस्य गाथा. एंड ये बुक इसीलिए इतनी मोमेंटस है हमारी पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री में, क्योंकि ये किताब लिखने के बाद नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस की डेथ के बारे में लोग ज्यादा बात करने लगे, एंड इट ऑल्सो ट्रिगर्ड अ डिमांड फॉर द डीक्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ द नेताजी फाइल्स. सो इससे पहले तक लोग डिमांड नहीं कर रहे थे कि नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र के बोस के डेथ के बारे में जो भी फाइल्स, जो भी डॉक्यूमेंट्स, जो भी सीक्रेट डॉक्यूमेंट्स गवर्नमेंट के पास हैं, उनको गवर्नमेंट ओपन अप नहीं कर रही थी फॉर पब्लिक एक्सेस. बट इस किताब के बाद एक पहल चली, एक डिमांड चली कि नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बारे डेथ के बारे में जो भी सीक्रेट डॉक्यूमेंट्स गवर्नमेंट के पास है उनको भी डीक्लासिफाई किया जाए. This book also became very popular when Vivek Agnihotri directed a film, Tashkent Files, and this is also a 2019 release. So what happened with me was that I viewed the film first and then read the book. So you can see that Anuj Dhar, along with his friend Chandrachur Ghosh, have relentlessly pursued the death mysteries of Shastriji as well as Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And in fact, both of them have left their mainstream careers to pursue the truth about the death of these two leaders, and they have formed a group called Mission Netaji, and they have been working on this issue since past 15 years. Now, what is the context and the background of this book? That is very important for us to understand. The context and the background of this book is that it is set in the 1960s to 1990s. The context is the India-Pakistan War of 1965, which India won under the leadership of Lal Bahadur Shastri. The context is the peace treaty which was signed between India and Pakistan, between Shastri ji and Ayub Khan from Pakistan at Tashkent. Tashkent is a city in Russia. The context is Lal Bahadur Shastri ji's huge contribution to India and its politics, which goes undiscussed, unrecognized. It also is about the mysterious circumstances under which Shastri ji died in Tashkent. Some say that it was a natural death. Some say that he was killed, he was murdered, he was poisoned. So the book talks about what happens in Tashkent on the fateful night of 11th January 1966, when Shastri ji in the middle of the night drinks a glass of milk and suddenly passes away. So what are the circumstances that surround Shastri ji's death? What happened to Shastri ji on that fateful 11th January 1966 night? So it is about how he died. It is also about what happens after Shastri ji's death. So Shastri ji's body is brought back to India. His family is extremely distraught and shocked because the way they see his body, it's completely blue and swollen. So they don't believe that this is a natural death, but they are in deep shock and they are not able to think anything. And so what happens after 1966? When a lot of people start raising eyebrows, start raising suspicion about how Shastri ji died, and there is an extensive debate and discussion in Rajya Sabha in the year 1977, when people come up and say that Shastriji's death was not a natural death, he was killed, he was murdered, and this issue becomes very burning and very important because you're talking about an Indian prime minister who dies in a foreign land. समझिए कि ये कोई छोटी बात नहीं है जब हमारे देश का प्रधानमंत्री मिस्टीरियस सर्कमस्टांसिस में जिनकी मृत्यु होती है वो भी फॉरेन कंट्री में, तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा हो जाता है और लोग सेटिस्फाइड नहीं होते कि बात की जा रही है कि शास्त्री जी की डेथ नेचुरल है। उनको लगता है कि समथिंग इज फिशी, समथिंग इज सस्पिशियस। तो राज्यसभा में एक बड़ी लंबी चौड़ी डिबेट होती है, इंक्वायरी कमीशंस बिठाए जाते हैं और बहुत सारी अटकलें लगाई जाती हैं कि शास्त्री जी की मृत्यु आखिर हुई कैसे। And finally, the book also discusses the role of CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency, the intelligence agency of USA, like we have RAW, they have CIA. It also discusses the role of KGB, which is the Russian intelligence agency, and finally, it discusses the probability of an internal hand in Shastriji's death. So the author has presented three propositions: the role of the CIA, the role of the KGB, and an internal hand in Shastriji's death. So this is the context, this is the background. ये एक पृष्ठभूमि है, ये एक फ्रेमवर्क है जिसमें ये बुक लिखी गई है और इसका मेजर फोकस ये है कि शास्त्री जी की मृत्यु कैसे हुई, इसके बारे में एक्सप्लेनेशन देना, एविडेंसेस को प्रेजेंट करना, फैक्ट्स को सामने रखना, प्रोपोजिशंस और थियोरीज को डिस्कस करना, ये इस बुक का मेजर फोकस है। जैसे मैंने आप लोगों को कहा, इस बुक का टाइटल इतना फैसिनेटिंग है, योर प्राइम मिनिस्टर इज डेड। इनफैक्ट आई थिंक दैट इट्स ऑलमोस्ट एम्फैटिक। So firstly, this is what the title captured me to read this book. And as I told you, I had already heard Shri Anuj Dhar speaking and lecturing in my own university. So this book is divided into 11 chapters. And these 11 chapters are organized very coherently, in a very, very smooth way, in a very logical way. आपको ऐसा लगेगा जब आप ये 11 चैप्टर्स पढ़ेंगे कि ये कब कहानी पढ़ रहे हैं। इसको एक स्टोरी टेलिंग फॉर्मेट में अनुज जी ने लिखा है। शुरुआत होती है शास्त्री जी की डेथ कैसे हुई ताशकंद में, इस कहानी के साथ। उसके बाद जो लेखक हैं वो बढ़ते हैं इंडिया की तरफ, जहां पे शास्त्री जी की बॉडी डेथ के बाद इंडिया लाई जाती है और क्या क्या होता है। उसके बाद the author discusses how there are discussions and debates in Rajya Sabha, and there are vehement demands for inquiry and investigation into Shastri ji's death. After that, the author proposes and discusses a lot of factual statements, evidences about Shastri ji's death. In the 6th chapter, he talks about how he in 2009 filed an RTI application with the Prime Minister's office. So Anuj ji का जो इंटरेस्ट है इस इशू में वो 2009 में शुरू हुआ और 2009 तक हमारे यहाँ RTI एक्ट आ चुकी थी और RTI एक्ट के तहत उन्होंने एक RTI एप्लीकेशन फाइल की शास्त्री जी के डेथ को रिलेटेड जो जो भी गवर्नमेंट के पास सीक्रेट डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं गवर्नमेंट उनको पब्लिक करे इस मांग के साथ। सो वो अपनी पर्सनल जर्नी को भी डिस्क्राइब कर रहे हैं 6th और 7th चैप्टर में। लास्ट के जो 3-4 चैप्टर हैं वो 3 मेजर एंगल्स को एक्सप्लोर करते हैं। व्हाट कॉज्ड शास्त्री जीज डेथ। सो ये 3 मेजर एंगल्स जो है, फर्स्ट इज द रोल ऑफ द CIA, दैट इज द रोल ऑफ अमेरिका। सेकंड इज द रोल ऑफ KGB, that is the role of Soviet Russia, रशिया के डिसइंटीग्रेशन के पहले USSR का रोल, and third is the role of somebody from India, some group, some party, some leader from India. So he presents 3 case scenarios, 3 angles into Shastri ji's death. He doesn't offer us any conclusion, any final statement ki, okay, Shastri ji's death happened because of XYZ. I leave it to the reader to explore which angle or which proposition has more credence and more truth in it. Was it the American intelligence agency? Was it the KGB, or was it an internal conspiracy hatched in India? So last के जो chapters हैं 8, 9, 10, इसमें इन तीनों propositions को बहुत डिटेल में डिस्कस किया गया है. और 11वां जो चैप्टर है that is towards a closure. आज के शास्त्री जी की डेथ को लेकर जो बातें होती हैं, जो थियोरीज हैं, कॉन्स्पिरेसी कहें या कुछ और कहें, जो करते हैं. सो जब आप इस बुक को पढ़ेंगे आपको लगेगा कि आप एक कहानी पढ़ रहे हैं लाल बहादुर शास्त्री की डेथ के बारे में, एक स्टोरी टेलिंग फॉर्मेट में, एक कहानी के फॉर्मेट में इस बुक को लिखा गया है. और 11 बहुत ही वेल ऑर्गेनाइज्ड चैप्टर्स में इसका डिवीजन किया गया है. लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ द बुक इज अबाउट द मेडिकल डिटेल्स of Shastri ji's death. So the author has taken the pain to visit many doctors, consult many experts in the medical field, and find out the medical causes and the medical reasons behind Shastri ji's death. For example, one of the most startling thing that you will come to know about after reading this book is that after Shastri ji died, there was no forensic report, there was no postmortem carried out. आज अगर किसी की डेथ होती है तो उसके बाद पोस्टमार्टम होता है, ये बहुत कॉमन चीज है. बट आपको जान के अचंभा लगेगा कि हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री की डेथ के बाद गवर्नमेंट ने कोई पोस्टमार्टम रिपोर्ट तैयार नहीं की, कोई फोरेंसिक एग्जामिनेशन नहीं किया. और इसीलिए जब आप इस किताब को पढ़ेंगे आपको काफी सारे ऐसे फैक्ट्स, ऐसे अननोन एस्पेक्ट्स, इंटरेस्टिंग एविडेंसेस, इंटरेस्टिंग हिस्टोरिकल टिटबिट्स पता चलेंगे जो आपको शायद पहले पता नहीं थे. सो दिस बिकम्स अ वेरी कंप्लीट एंड कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव रीड ऑन शास्त्री जी's death because it is laden with very interesting historical information and it is supplemented with evidences and facts. ऐसा नहीं है कि ऑथर ने अपनी मनगढ़ंत कोई कहानी यहाँ पर लिखी है. उन्होंने फैक्ट्स, एविडेंसेस, स्टेटमेंट्स, कोड्स, आरटीआई एप्लीकेशन के द्वारा उनको जो जवाब मिला वो सारा बहुत ही सिस्टमैटिकली ऑर्गेनाइज किया है, डॉक्यूमेंट किया है इन 11 चैप्टर्स में. So for example, you can see that on page 34 of the book, this is an excerpt from the book, an excerpt which is part of the discussion that was going on in Rajya Sabha in 1977. So Raj Narayan, who was a very well-known leader, says that Shastri has been killed as a result of a conspiracy and the government was duty bound to launch an inquiry. So उस वक्त इंडियन गवर्नमेंट पर बहुत दबाव था, बहुत प्रेशर था कि वो एक इंक्वायरी करे कि शास्त्री जी की डेथ कैसे हुई. महावीर प्रसाद भार्गव, ये भी एक बहुत ही वेल नोन लीडर रहे उस वक्त के, said that there were certain questions which needed to be fairly and squarely replied by the government. तो इस तरह की जो इंटरेस्टिंग इंफॉर्मेशन है, इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट्स हैं, वो आपको बुक में पढ़ने के लिए मिलेंगे. क्योंकि ये जो सेशन है वो एक बुक रिव्यू सेशन है, तो मैं इस पर अपने ओपिनियंस, अपना अभिप्राय भी रखना चाहूंगी. सो I will present my opinion about the book in two parts. First, I will discuss some highlights of the book, some uh, good points about the book, and then I will probably discuss some limitations of the book. Personally, जब मैंने ये book पढ़ी, I was very fascinated. I totally enjoyed reading it, and it completely hooked me because of the way it is written. But of course, when we do a book review, one has to present both sides of the story. One has to discuss what one liked about the book, how the book appealed to me as a reader, but one also has to discuss what are the limitations of the book. सो अच्छी बात ये है इस किताब की कि अगर आप इसे पढ़ेंगे और अगर आपको पॉलिटिक्स में इतना इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, क्योंकि शायद काफी ऐसे पार्टिसिपेंट्स होंगे जिनको पॉलिटिक्स में रुचि नहीं है, तो भी आपको ये बुक बहुत अच्छी लगेगी, क्योंकि इट विल गिव यू अ वेरी पीकaboo into India's political history. If you want to understand Indian politics from the 1960s to the late 80s, I think this is a very good beginning book to pick up. So it will introduce you in a very interesting way to Indian political history, because Lal Bahadur Shastri ji is a very important chapter in India's political history. So अगर किसी को पॉलिटिक्स में रुचि नहीं है, फिर भी मैं समझती हूँ कि ये बुक उन्हें पसंद आएगी, क्योंकि इट विल एक्ट एज एन इंट्रोडक्शन टू इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स। दूसरी बात जो बुक की ये बहुत अच्छी लगी मुझे, दैट इट विल सेंसिटाइज यू एंड इंट्रोड्यूस यू टू इंडियाज फॉरगॉटन हीरोज, लाल बहादुर शास्त्री एंड नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस। बुक के कुछ हिस्सों में नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस की मृत्यु और लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी की मृत्यु के बीच में कनेक्शन जोड़ने की कोशिश की गई है। तो हमारे पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री के जो फॉरगॉटन हीरोज हैं, जिनको आज हम याद नहीं करते क्योंकि हम सिर्फ गांधी, नेहरू, अंबेडकर को याद करते हैं, बाकी लोगों को हम भूल चुके हैं, बाकी लोगों के कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस को सेलिब्रेट करना हम भूल चुके हैं। तो आई थिंक दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन बिकॉज इट introduces and celebrates a forgotten hero, Lal Bahadur Shastri. The book also helps us understand the turbulent nature of Indian politics. Indian politics में क्या-क्या उतार चढ़ाव आए उस समय पर, ये बुक पढ़कर आपको अच्छे से समझ में आ जाएगा। इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स कैसे इवॉल्व हुआ, कैसे आगे बढ़ा आजादी के बाद, कौन कौन इंपॉर्टेंट लोग थे, कौन से इंपॉर्टेंट लीडर्स थे गांधी, नेहरू, अंबेडकर के अलावा। सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंदिरा गांधी, दयाबाई पटेल, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी, टी.एन. सिंह, वाई.बी. चौहान, विद्याचरण शुक्ल, राजनारायण, ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण नाम है भारतीय राजनीति के इतिहास में। इनके बारे में भी हमें ज्ञान मिलेगा इस बुक से। I think this book is also a very important contribution because it presents a different narrative. It presents an alternative narrative that was buried in political abyss. लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी की डेथ के बारे में आमतौर पर ना ही इतनी चर्चा हो पाती है, ना ही पब्लिक डोमेन में, मीडिया में इतना डिस्कशन हो पाता है। आप सोचिए, हमें इतने साल लगे उनकी डेथ मिस्ट्री पर एक फिल्म बनाने के लिए। सो ये एक ऐसा पॉलिटिकल नैरेटिव सामने लेकर आती है ये किताब, जो अभी तक कहीं दबा हुआ था, जो अभी तक उजागर नहीं हो पाया था, जो अभी तक बाहर नहीं आ पाया था। इसीलिए भी ये बुक बहुत हटके है, बहुत अलग है। For students, because I can see that there are a lot of student participants in this session, especially for students of social sciences and liberal arts, this is a book that displays how investigative journalism works. इन्वेस्टिगेटिव जर्नलिज्म करना मतलब 1 महीना 2 महीना नहीं, सालों साल की मेहनत। आप विचार कीजिए, ये बुक, इस बुक के पीछे, इन मुद्दों के पीछे श्री अनुज धार और श्री चंद्रचूड़ घोष, इन्होंने लगभग अपना जीवन दे दिया है, ऐसा कह सकते हैं, क्योंकि 2009 में इन्होंने ये काम शुरू किया और आज भी ये लोग ये काम कर रहे हैं। मिशन नेताजी ग्रुप जो उन्होंने बनाया है उसके तहत। सो आई थिंक फॉर स्टूडेंट्स दिस बुक displays how investigative journalism works, how research is done, how research and journalism are fields or are areas that require a lot of patience. 10-12 साल एक मुद्दे के ऊपर रिसर्च करना और फिर एक किताब लिखना, ये कोई आसान काम नहीं है। सो रिसर्च कैसे करना, रिसर्च बेस्ड इंक्वायरी को कैसे प्रेजेंट करना, लॉ का उपयोग कैसे करना, इसके लिए भी ये बुक स्टूडेंट्स के लिए काफी उपयोगी है। अगर आपको इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स में इंटरेस्ट है, आपको फॉरेन पॉलिसी में इंटरेस्ट है, डिप्लोमेसी में इंटरेस्ट है, आपको जानना है कि भारत के संबंध कैसे थे उस समय पर अमेरिका के साथ, रूस के साथ, विश्व के अन्य देशों के साथ, so this is a book that you should definitely pick up because it not only gives you an understanding of domestic politics, it also gives you an understanding of international politics. And if you are a voracious reader, you will definitely like the book because it is written in a very lucid and engaging style. As I told you, it's written in the storytelling format, even though it's about a non-fiction issue. It's about a real issue. It's about a real person's death. It is about a prime minister's death. But the way it has been written, it's written in a narrative format. It's written in a way that engrosses the reader. It's written in a very engaging style. So at the center of the book, you have a death mystery, and the plot revolves around that death mysteries. And as you read the book, आप खुद सोचने लग जाएंगे कि शास्त्री जी की डेथ कैसे हुई थी, कौन सी थियरी सच्ची है, कौन सी थियरी झूठी है. आप खुद ऐसा सोचने लग जाएंगे और इससे पता चलेगा कि राइटर ने कितना इफेक्टिवली इस किताब को लिखा है, क्योंकि वो आपको ही is very successful in engaging and engrossing the reader. So जैसे जैसे आप ये थियरीज पढ़ते जाएंगे शास्त्री जी की डेथ के बारे में, आपको लगेगा ओके अभी ये थियरी सही है, दूसरा चैप्टर पढ़ने पे आपको लगेगा दूसरी थियरी सही है, बुक के एंड तक आप खुद कंफ्यूज हो जाएंगे, आपको लगेगा कौन सी थियरी सही है मुझे भी नहीं पता. So probably the author has tried to keep it open for the reader to understand how Shastri ji died. So in the way it is written, it is very engaging and engrossing. So another plus points about the book, according to me, is that this book will definitely evoke your curiosity about Shastri ji. अगर आप शास्त्री जी के बारे में जानना चाहते हैं तो ये किताब एक बहुत अच्छी शुरुआत हो सकती है. So I feel that the book helped me in a personal capacity to press the refresh button about Shastri ji, because if we have to go back, we have to press the refresh button. So it revives his memory. It acknowledges his contribution in the Indian political space, because he was definitely a great leader, a statesman, and as is acknowledged, he was never given his due. In fact, you will develop a feeling of catharsis. So मैंने पहले ये किताब पढ़ी और अब शास्त्री जी के लाइफ के बारे में, उनके पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में जानने में मुझे रुचि है. So it's like a feeling of catharsis where you as a reader are moving the other way around. You are learning about the death of this person first and then learning about his life. So of course there are many other interesting works about Shastri ji which I will share with you when I conclude in a few minutes. So the book also displays excellent investigative journalistic streak, and जब आप ये किताब पढ़ेंगे you will really appreciate कि किस हद तक पैशन और किस हद तक रिसर्च इन्वेस्ट की गई है इन द राइटिंग ऑफ दिस बुक. जब आप कोई किताब लिखते हैं, आप रिसर्च करते हैं, आप स्टडी करते हैं, आप कई लोगों से मिलते हैं, तो ये काम ऑथर पिछले 15 सालों से कर रहे हैं. यू विल कम टू अप्रिशिएट द टाइम एंड द रिसोर्सेस दैट he has invested. You will also learn a lot of new political vocabulary. For example, if you don't know what declassification is, you will learn about it. You will also learn a lot of very specific and peculiar terms that are used in international politics and diplomacy, etc. So उस टाइम का जो पॉलिटिकल डिस्कोर्स था, पॉलिटिकल नैरेटिव था, उसके बारे में ये बुक आपको बेहतरीन इंट्रोडक्शन दे सकती है. एंड आई फील दैट एज अ रीडर you will be stunned by the details and the meticulous nature of documentation and presentation that the book carries. Also, you will get the book strikes a balance because it presents opposing ideas. So अगर हमारे हिस्ट्री में काफी सारे लोग ऐसे थे जो ये मानते थे कि शास्त्री जी की डेथ नेचुरल नहीं थी, he was murdered, तो ऐसे भी लोग थे जो मानते थे कि नहीं, शास्त्री जी की डेथ में कोई कॉन्स्पिरेसी नहीं थी, कोई कंट्रोवर्सी नहीं थी, and he died a natural death. So the author has also presented opposing views in this book. दोनों साइड्स की जो बात है, दोनों तरफ की जो बात है, नेचुरल डेथ के बारे में और मिस्टीरियस डेथ के बारे में, दोनों बातों को ऑथर ने बहुत अच्छी तरह से रखा है. और एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट जो मैं यहाँ पे आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूंगी वो ये है कि जब when Anuj Dhar filed an RTI with the Prime Minister's office, he did not get any response. उनको मना कर दिया कि हम शास्त्री जी की डेथ को लेकर जो सीक्रेट डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं वो आपके साथ शेयर नहीं कर सकते, कारण आपने वीडियो में देखे. But when he applied for information to the CIA under the Freedom of Information Act, which is a pioneering act in the American political system, he got documents and information about Shastri ji's death. आप देखिए ये कितना विरोधाभास है कि हमारे ही देश में जब वो इंफॉर्मेशन मांगना चाहते हैं हमारे ही प्रधानमंत्री की डेथ को लेकर, तो गवर्नमेंट मना कर देती है कि हम नहीं दे सकते, ये सीक्रेट इंफॉर्मेशन है, इससे प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी अगर ये पब्लिक में बाहर आ जाए तो. बट अमेरिकी एजेंसी CIA और अमेरिकी सिस्टम में जो फ्रीडम ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन एक्ट है उसके तहत जब वो इंफॉर्मेशन मांगते हैं सुभाष चंद्र बोस और शास्त्री जी के डेथ के बारे में, तो उन्हें इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है. ये विरोधाभास भी आपको अपने पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम के बारे में समझ आएगा, पता चलेगा. What are some down points about the book? And now I'm moving towards the conclusion of my review session. So probably when you read the book, you will be forced to think that, okay, how is Lal Bahadur Shastri's death relevant today? Okay, let's celebrate Shastri ji, let's celebrate his progressive politics, let's celebrate him as a visionary leader, but why is it necessary to rake up a past issue? How is Lal Bahadur Shastri relevant in 2020? We are in 2020, leaders come and go, politics has changed drastically. So why should we invest time in discussing somebody who died in 1966? Yes, he was important. Yes, he was a very good prime minister. But why is it necessary to discuss him and his death today? So this book has been criticized because a lot of people think that it's only adding fuel to the fire. It is only adding into the controversy, adding into the conspiracy, adding into the speculation about Shastri ji's death. लोग सोचते हैं कि 1966 में शास्त्री जी की डेथ हुई और क्यों नहीं मान लेते आप लोग कि वो नेचुरल डेथ हुई, क्यों आप कंट्रोवर्सी स्पेकुलेशन में अपना समय बर्बाद करना चाहते हैं. सो जिन लोगों ने इस बुक को क्रिटिसाइज किया है, एक मुद्दा ये रहा है कि ये सब आज डिस्कस करना 2020 में क्यों जरूरी है. शायद आपको भी ये लगेगा कि क्यों हम इस बुक की बात कर रहे हैं 2020 में, बिकॉज प्रोबेबली इट इज सीन एज एन एफर्ट इन प्रमोटिंग conspiracy theories. It's only promoting conspiracies, and there's no end to this discussion about how Shastri ji died. Also, there is no conclusion in the book. If you take up the book and if you read it with the hope that I will come to know how Shastri ji died, then it doesn't offer any conclusion. Of course, the author offers his personal opinion, but he doesn't impose this personal opinion on the reader. He offers different possibilities. He offers 3 possibilities: possibility 1, 2, and 3 about Shastri ji's death, but there is no conclusion. So if you're looking at some concluding evidences and conclusion, then you might be disappointed because he's only offering possibilities. Also, as you go on reading the book and as you progress chapter after chapter, you will probably realize that this book gets a bit drag and a bit lengthy, and आपको ऐसा लगेगा कि शायद इसको थोड़ा short रखते, concise रखते, precise रखते, इसका editing अच्छे से हुआ होता, तो it would have been a more compact and impactful read. Though that's not my complaint as a reader, because I've been used to reading books for 500, 600 pages. So something to the tune of 289 pages isn't too much, at least in my opinion. And then there are too many facts, dates, names of people, events, incidents, references, इतनी सारी extra information है कि ये जो कैनवस है पूरा शास्त्री जी की डेथ के बारे में वो इतना वाइड हो जाता है कि आप कभी कभी पढ़ते पढ़ते कंफ्यूज हो सकते हैं कि पीछे जो बोला था वो क्या था, आगे जो बात हो रही है वो क्या है। तो आपको याद रखने में इतनी सारी फैक्चुअल इंफॉर्मेशन है, हिस्टोरिकल इंफॉर्मेशन है, इतने सारे बैक एंड फोर्थ रेफरेंसेस हैं, बिकॉज दिस इज ऑल्सो अ वर्क ऑफ मेटिकुलस रिसर्च। सो इतने सारे फैक्ट्स, डेट्स, लोगों के नाम, इवेंट्स याद नहीं रहते एज यू अप्रोच द एंड ऑफ द बुक। सो प्रोबेबली that could also be a limitation of the book. And if you are someone who's only interested in knowing more about Shastriji, not about his death, you want to know about his life, his tenure as a prime minister, his style of politics, his contributions to India, and what he means to contemporary India, then probably this is not a book for you, because this focuses on his death and the mysteries and the controversies surrounding it. So अगर आप शास्त्री जी के और उनके लाइफ और उनके पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में जानना चाहते हैं तो शायद आपको दूसरी किताब पढ़नी चाहिए, ये नहीं। So to end this review session, I strongly recommend this book personally because I teach political science. I have been a student of politics all my life, and I hold deep interest in politics and allied subjects. So I will recommend this book to anybody who is interested in Indian politics, political mysteries, aspects like leadership, history. If you are someone who likes to read about international politics, foreign policy, diplomacy, etc., you must take up this book. And if you are someone who's not interested in politics but wants to read about it, wants to know more about it, this can be a very good beginning. And there are some other books also that have been written on, of course, there's a major motion picture, Tashkent Files, by Vivek Agnihotri. There's also a very interesting film, Bengali film, Gumnami, by a Bengali director, I forget the name, Srijit Mukherjee, if I'm not wrong. It's also a 2019 or 2020 release, and it is about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's death, his mysterious disappearance, and his life as Gumnami Baba. So there are already popular formats in which all of this is being discussed and talked about. And there is another book by Vivek Agnihotri, Who Killed Shastri. This is based on his film. And in fact, Anuj Dhar was an important part of the research team of the Tashkent files. So I would recommend this book to anybody who wants to initiate himself or herself into Indian politics. And if mysteries, controversies, conspiracies interest you, then this is the right book to pick up. And other works on Lal Bahadur Shastri, which I think are important and which you can explore. So there is a book by Sandeep Shastri, 2019. Sandeep Shastri is an academic. The book is called Lal Bahadur Shastri, Politics and Beyond. And the second book that I can recommend is a 2005 book by C.P. Srivastav, Lal Bahadur Shastri, A Life of Truth in Politics. So I would like to end this review session by submitting that this book, Your Prime Minister is Dead, to me it reflects an eternal pursuit of truth, an eternal quest for truth. And I think the country is really fortunate to have people like Anuj Dhar and Chandrachud Ghosh who are investing their lifetime, money, and resources in finding these disturbing and uncomfortable truths. I also think it is a fitting tribute to Lal Bahadur Shastri, who I again reiterate was one of the best prime ministers of India. If I had to rank prime minister 1, 2, 3, I would place Narasimha Rao at 1, Shastriji at number 2. So I think this is a fitting tribute and closure to his life and what happened to him. And I believe that wherever Shastriji is, he continues to bless India and he remains a role model of how progressive, visionary, and good politics is also possible in a country like India. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Nidhi, for such an informative session. Um, and I think sensitizing youth regarding the mysterious death of our national leader is one of the important things, and you have put it in a very right perspective. And even when the person from non-political science background, your book review has, made me realize that yes, one should go for, this genre of books. So, Nidhi, can we pick up a few questions?
Yes, please go ahead. I am more than happy to take questions.
Okay. We have one question uh, from Mehak. Uh, what is your view regarding Shastriji's death? I mean, is it natural? Was it natural or murder?
So, Mehak, I believe you are asking me to comment on a personal basis, and I'm not making a statement because I'm not a public personality, so I feel that I can share my opinions on this platform. Uh, Honestly, I feel, and my gut feeling after reading the book and after watching a lot of YouTube videos and exploring a lot of information that is now available in the public domain about Shastriji's death is that there was definitely something fishy about it. It doesn't seem as simple, and as the video very rightly said, Shastriji said that I'm not as simple as I may look, because Shastriji was a pati man. He was a tiny man, 5 feet 2 inch, and people thought that इतने छोटे कद के ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर ये क्या लीड करेंगे हमारे देश को, but appearances can be deceptive. So after reading the book and after watching the film, I am quite convinced that there was something fishy and suspicious about the way Shastri ji died. And to back this up, we must look at the pre-1965 circumstances, the internal conflicts in the Congress party, the transfer of leadership from Jawaharlal Nehru to Shastriji, and how Indira Gandhi becomes the leader of the Congress, how she manages to split the Congress once she is at the helm of affairs. So, uh, taking a very holistic view, agar hum aage piche sab kuch dekhe, so definitely it doesn't seem natural. There is a lot of suspicion, lots of questions raised, and I do sincerely hope that the truth comes out one day, because Indian people deserve to know how their beloved prime minister died. It's extremely important. It's an issue of national concern, and I hope that the government also plays an important role in this. So, to me, it is full of suspicion.
Okay.
Ma'am, can I ask
And
question?
yes,
Yes,
please.
Akshay, go ahead.
Ma'am, yeah, ma'am, I'm Akshit here. So, ma'am, my question was that जैसे आपने बोला ना कि बुक में कंक्लूड नहीं किया गया है कि एंड में ये कॉन्स्पिरेसी है, कि ये मर्डर है, कि ये क्या था। तो फिर मैम आपने जैसे बोला कि ये इन्वेस्टिगेटिव जर्नलिज्म का एक प्राइम एग्जांपल है, तो जर्नलिज्म का मैम, जर्नलिस्ट जो होते हैं उनका काम जजमेंट पास करना थोड़ी होता है, उनका काम तो सिर्फ फैक्ट्स को स्ट्रेट वे हमारे सामने रखना होता है, बाकी तो काम हम खुद डिसाइड करते हैं कि क्या सही है क्या गलत है। तो मैम ये डिसएडवांटेज में कैसे आ सकता है मैम? ये तो एक बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल हो गया ना कि ये जर्नलिस्ट ने अपना काम कर दिया और हमें अब सोचना है क्या होता है। और प्लस मैं इसमें ऐड करना चाहूंगा मैम, क्योंकि उनकी डेथ से पहले इंदिरा गांधी जैसे वो थी फॉरेन एक्सचेंज, वो मिनिस्टर थी, फॉरेन अफेयर में काम करती थी, तो वो कैसे प्राइम मिनिस्टर बन गई मैम? क्वेश्चन तो यहाँ पे उठना चाहिए ना, वो कैसे आ गई यहाँ पे?
Okay, Akshit, thank you for your observations and thank you for bringing forth these points. पहली बात तो अनुज जी जर्नलिस्ट थे, अब वो जर्नलिस्ट नहीं है। जब उन्होंने इस मुद्दे पर काम करना शुरू किया, उन्होंने अपना जर्नलिस्टिक करियर छोड़ दिया। वो मेन स्ट्रीम जर्नलिज्म में थे, बट जब से वो और चंद्रचूड़ जी इन मुद्दों पर काम कर रहे हैं, तब से वो जर्नलिस्ट नहीं है। उन्होंने एक रिसर्चर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ये मूवी लिखी, ये किताब लिखी है। ये मेरा अपना ओपिनियन है कि ये एक इन्वेस्टिगेटिव जर्नलिज्म का एक अच्छा एग्जाम्पल हो सकता है। और जो मैंने कहा कि ये डिसएडवांटेज है, वो मैंने आपको एक दूसरा पर्सपेक्टिव समझाने के लिए कहा कि जब इस बुक को क्रिटिसाइज भी किया गया है। सो जब हम किसी बुक की समीक्षा करते हैं, रिव्यू करते हैं, तो हमें दोनों पहलू बताने होते हैं। तो मैं अपने प्रेजेंटेशन को, अपने रिव्यू को बैलेंस रखना चाहती थी। तो पर्सनली मैं नहीं मानती कि अगर उन्होंने कंक्लूजन ऑफर नहीं किया है तो ये कोई डिसएडवांटेज है, कोई लिमिटेशन है। मैं ये कहना चाह रही थी कि लोगों ने, क्रिटिक्स ने इस बुक को क्रिटिसाइज इस मुद्दे पर किया है कि कोई सॉलिड कंक्लूजन निकल कर नहीं आया है। अनुज जी ने अपना पर्सनल ओपिनियन तो बताया ही है इसमें, बट ही हैज लेफ्ट इट टू द रीडर दैट ओके, I present you with three probabilities. You have all the evidences, facts, data, statements in front of you. He he trusts the intelligence of the reader, and I think that is the hallmark of a great writer, a great author. So what I presented as the limitation is not my opinion of the book. I'm just trying to tell you that this is what people may feel about the book if once they read it. That is the answer to your first question. And second, how Indira Gandhi becomes the prime minister, what happens, I think that is not the subject of the book per se. For that, I may recommend other books like Rajni Kothari's book on Indian politics, or a basic reading on Indian politics. So how Indira Gandhi takes over after Shastri Ji's death is probably something that this book doesn't delve into greater detail. Probably it makes a passing reference, probably it just mentions. It also mentions an internal hand, and it points out to the Congress and Indira Gandhi in a major way in the last chapters. But how this transfer of power happened and why Indira Gandhi, that is something that is not in the purview of this book. So we may have to look up other books to answer this question.
Okay, thank you मैम, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thanks, Akshat.
Okay, Nidhi, there is one more question on YouTube from Khyati Kharod.
Yes.
She's asking can we expect one more book review on Narasimha Rao's autobiography from you?
Okay. You will have to ask the organizers at Abhigya book review series for that, Khyati auntie. And I haven't read that book. I am willing to do so. Currently, I'm reading about Vivekananda and Savarkar. So I'd be more than happy to discuss these unsung personalities of Indian politics like Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, K.M. Munshi, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Swami Vivekananda, and Veer Savarkar, and so many others, even Dr. Ambedkar. So if Abhigya book review organizers invite me again, of course they will have to give me time to read up. But I definitely agree with your idea, because P.V. Narasimha Rao is also an interesting figure in Indian politics. Again, someone who was not given his due, and there are so many facets to his political personality. I think the liberalization, globalization benefits that we so effortlessly enjoy today is credit to PV Narasimha Rao and his leadership. So discussing him would also make a lot of sense to young people. So I'll definitely think about reading this book, but currently I am reading about other political personalities.
Yes, we'll be more than happy to invite you, Dr. Nidhi, again for a Abhigya session. Uh, so, before we conclude our session, I have one question now for you, Dr. Nidhi. If you just see, our the reading habits of young generation. So they have plenty of genre, like so their reading habits are quite different, right? They have plenty of topics, they have plenty of subjects. Then, what do you think? Why should they read a book based on Indian politics or Indian leaders?
Okay. Very naturally, you should read books on Indian politics because you live in India, number one. You are citizens of this country, and as people and as citizens, we are not untouched by what happens around us. We are by politics. So you may like to remain young person. It is going to affect you and your life and your family in one or the other way. So I feel that you should take up readings of books on Indian politics primarily because this is your country, and if you don't understand its political system and governance, how are you going to contribute to it? How can you think about playing an effective role as a democratic citizen, as a responsible citizen? Because your responsibility doesn't end with casting your vote on election day. So, to understand how interesting and how dynamic Indian politics is, and to understand and appreciate, see what happens a lot of times, Neha, is that we look at politics from a very one sided prism. It is negative, it is dirty, it is uninteresting, it is not our cup of tea, etc. etc. I think for students that's a very dangerous proposition and a very lopsided view to take. So as citizens, as young people who will be at the helm of this country in a few years down the line, and as everybody keeps on saying, the oft repeated cliche that young people are the future. So if young people are disconnected, deracinated from their own roots, from their own culture, from their own politics and governance system, the country doesn't the country holds a bleak future. So you should definitely think about reading on Indian politics because you are Indians and you owe this to the country. If you know more about how politics works here, you will come to appreciate our democratic and governance systems. You will understand its strengths and its limitations, and possibly you will be also able to play your part more effectively as a citizen. So I think the only reason is you owe this to your country, you owe this to people because of whom this country stands strong today. If you don't know about them, आप किसी भी दूसरे देश में जाइए, आप यूरोप जाइए, अमेरिका जाइए, मैं काफी ट्रैवल करती हूँ, वहां के लोगों को अपनी हिस्ट्री, अपना पॉलिटिक्स, अपना कल्चर, अपने रूट्स, अपनी संस्कृति के बारे में पता होता है. वो उसके बारे में बात भी कर पाते हैं, बोल पाते हैं, शेयर कर पाते हैं. हम नहीं कर पाते. अगर हम ये नहीं कर पा रहे तो हमें इस पर गर्व करने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमें इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करने की आवश्यकता है. सो आप लोगों से मैं आशा रखती हूँ कि ऐसी किताबें आप पढ़ेंगे और दूसरों को रेकमेंड भी करेंगे ताकि आपको देश में क्या हो रहा है उसके बारे में आप सजग रहें.
Yes, thank you so much, Nidhi. Correct. I mean, uh, that's the main reason, that's what I have observed. Like, We young people, many people, I mean, get us detached with the political system of our country. So, learning and reading about the politics of our country is definitely should be one of the major concern of the people of our country. Thank you so much, Nidhi, Dr. Nidhi, for putting forward your views and for such an informative book review. Now, I would like to request our IQS coordinator, Dr. Krishna Desai, to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Neha Madam. It is indeed my pleasure to propose a vote of thanks for today's book review. I heartily thank Dr. Nidhi for presenting her review of the book Your Prime Minister is Dead by Mr. Anuj Dhar. She has presented it in a very lucid manner. It has raised interest on exploring the conspiracy theories around the untimely and unnatural death of our national heroes. Thank you for picking up this genre because it has never been taken up as yet in our book review series. And definitely looking to the interest of the people who have gathered here for today's review, we will definitely invite you for another book review of yours on the same genre on Indian politics. Being a student and the academician in political science, your views and your ideas about Indian politics are very clear and they present a just presentation of the scenario without any exaggeration. So thank you very much for it. I would take this opportunity to appreciate the efforts of Dr. Neha Raval and Mr. Shivang Mehta for initiating and furthering this Abhigya monthly book review series. I also extend gratitude to Vanita Vishram Management, Honorable Principal Dr. Abhilasha Agarwal, our technical team, teaching and non-teaching staff of Vanita Vishram Women's College of Commerce for their incessant support. And last but not the least, a very big thank you to all the dear participants. Keep attending and keep adding to your knowledge base because a person who reads can evolve into an individual who is able to think critically, which is very important in today's life. So that is all from my side. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all for being a part of this wonderful session today.
Thank you so much, Krishna ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Neha Raval. And I think there was no better way to end 2020 than review this book and present it in front of all the participants on your platform. I think 2020 has ended on a high note for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nidhi and Dr. Krishna Desai. With this, we'll end